So, hello and welcome back for the afternoon session. It was so interesting for me to go through your groups, take the pictures, and listen a bit to your discussions. And I just saw a lot of interesting group energy on the various table and very interesting discussions. So I hope you enjoyed the time and discussed a lot and enough. Yes, did you like it? Was it useful? So if you still need to talk, I think there is plenty of time afterwards where you can stay with your group leaders and follow on your discussions. But now we will follow on with the program of the Youth.Summit because there is still some very interesting program points we will experience now in the afternoon. So the first part will be a showcase of youth activities. So some of the youth leaders that were part of your groups now will come to the stage and will introduce their work they're doing in their countries and in their organizations. And afterwards, the kind of last session of this day will be a concrete discussion of actions for the future, where different possibilities will be presented, and also the pledge that you have already heard of, which is going to be very strong thing. I forgot for this showcase of the youth activities, there is also the possibilities then to ask questions to the podium.
So I'm sure that it was very useful to gather in different groups and to have a networking lunch. So now we've learned about the nuclear abolition. What exactly can we do about it? Actually, this next session will tell us how we can get involved. So I would like also to start by introducing the showcasing of our upcoming session. These are some exciting examples of youth around the world and their nuclear disarmament efforts. 5 people from 5 different countries. So I would like to start by introducing Anda from Romania, from the International Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons. Please welcome Anda. Peter from Kenya, from the IPPNW, the International Physicians for Prevention of Nuclear War. Please welcome Peter.
While Peter is still coming, I introduce the third person, which is going to be in the podium, and this is Meredith. She's from the United States, and she's representing Global Zero. To make this podium even more diverse, we add another continent. So the next person is going to be Mint. She's from Thailand, more specifically from SGI in Thailand. And last but not least is Hayato, and he is from the Nagasaki Youth Delegation.
It's working. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Anda. I'm representing the International Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons. And in the next minutes, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about our work, what we are doing around the world. I'm coming from Romania. I started working in nuclear disarmament in 2012. And since then, got involved in lots of activities, including education, raising awareness, lobbying, one-to-one meeting with officials, and not only from Romania, from around the world. And my particular work as advocacy includes both Romanian and Moldovan officials. but a little bit more about ICAN. It's an international campaign to abolish nuclear weapons that was established in 2007. We are currently having more than 500 members from more than 95 countries. We are a coalition that asks people, governments, international organizations to talk more about the catastrophic and acknowledge the catastrophic consequences of nuclear weapons. We ask them to talk and recognize the imperative of a ban treaty, even if not all the states, or there are just a few states in the world that possess them. There's an imperative need of a universal ban treaty on nuclear weapons. We need to delegitimize these weapons, and this should be the first step. As I was mentioned, ICAN is doing an international level, and there you can see a map where our partners organizations are based. So what it is with red are the countries where we do have partners organizations. To be more specific, now we have 424 countries. And besides kind of activities of raising awareness and doing one-by-one meetings and lobbying, also briefing governments during the conference, international conference and negotiation. Our work in the last year focused on what is known as the humanitarian movement or humanitarian impact of nuclear weapons, and everything started in 2010 to 2011 when, together with the RCSC, the International Red Cross and Red Cross movement, they had a resolution declaring that there's a necessity of a ban treaty and the total elimination of nuclear weapons. And we start constructing from that point. We went and talked with a lot of governments and asked our partners organization to share this movement in their specific countries and to raise support. Firstly, to raise support for bringing this discourse into the nuclear disarmament language, because that was the point when there has been a switch and human being was put in the center of the speech of nuclear disarmament, and we were not talking anymore about national security, but we consider what nuclear weapons do to people, do to humans, and we need to go forward taking into consideration that point. Naturally, some conferences where governments were informed in a very comprehensive manner about the catastrophic consequences of nuclear weapons. The first one was in 2013 in Oslo. It followed one in 2014 in Nayarit, Mexico. And after two conferences that governments really understood what were the consequences of nuclear weapons, and in those conference we've included testimonies of Hibaksha. We ended up with a conference in Vienna that had as an outcome document what is now called the Humanitarian Pledge. And what we are doing these days is trying to raise as much countries to support this humanitarian pledge. And as the last week, we have 114 countries that are supporting the humanitarian pledge. And the last thing that I want you to tell is that unfortunately Japan is not behind this humanitarian pledge yet. So please go to our website, goodbyenuke.s, and write to your foreign minister and ask them to support this, this paper that can bring us forward to a world free of nuclear weapons. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Peter Mburu. I'm a medical doctor from Kenya. I'm also a part of the ICAN movement, but I'm here really to speak about a project that we had this year to raise awareness on the issues surrounding uranium mining in Africa, as well as joining hands with the global movement that is in existence to ban nuclear weapons. So that's a picture of some of the climbers who took part going out Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania. So the idea came about back in 2013 at the Africa Regional Meeting, where we spoke about doing something that will create awareness amongst the Tanzanian people about what's going on in central Tanzania with uranium mining and their government's intentions to start mining uranium. And we found that Tanzania was an apt place to hold the project, and having the continent's highest mountain, we thought that it would be a very ideal location for the project. We also thought that it would be easier for the people of Tanzania to connect with a project that is held in their own country. Tanzania also has a very good civil society movement surrounding uranium mining. So that was also a factor that we looked at when we chose Tanzania. So we started planning almost immediately and set dates for this year. So it took place at the end of June and the first week of July. And we managed to get people from about 7 countries. So we had people coming in from Tanzania, from Kenya, from Nigeria, from South Africa, from Estonia, India, and Germany. So the team generally comprised of about 22 young activists, but those who managed to do and take part in the climb were only 17. This was due to many factors that we couldn't really control. And those who managed to get to the very top were 12 of the 17. So the aim for us was to try and inspire as many African youth as possible by doing something ourselves that would require a huge amount of effort and commitment to do. Mount Kilimanjaro stands at about 5,985 meters above sea level. So it is a very, very high freestanding mountain. So it would require each and every one of us to try and overcome our own fears and our own limitations to try and get to the top. And we managed to do this with 12 people who made it to the very summit. When we got to the summit, it was very, very cold, but we managed to stand there and take pictures with some of the messages that we had regarding the uranium mining and banning of nuclear weapons. And on our way back down, we invited media groups to come and cover the event as much as they could. And we did manage to have a very good media splash in Tanzanian and East African media houses. So there was a good amount of attention in that week that we got from various media houses. And all the questions that we were getting managed to help us get even more ideas about what we need to do to put the message as far out as possible. So I will just speak about one of the big challenges that we have in Africa regarding the connecting to the movement of banning nuclear weapons. Africa as a continent does not really have any nuclear weapons, but it is one of the sources of the uranium ore. So like Tanzania wants to start mining, and there are already other countries that do mine uranium in Africa. So countries like Chad and Malawi and South Africa and Angola and DRC. So we want to try and build as many networks as we can. And this was a good opportunity for me to come here and learn from other organizations from other parts of the world about what they are doing in their own countries regarding raising awareness and networking and what sort of campaigns that they hold to bring to the fore, especially to policymakers, these issues that we do really need to talk about. And I would like to thank the city of Hiroshima for hosting us, SGI as a organization, and all the people from this lovely city. We have had a very good time here, and I want to thank you very much. Arigato.
Hello? Am I on? Excellent. Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Meredith Hrowski, and I am the Global Campaign Director at Global Zero. We are the international movement for the elimination of nuclear weapons. Thank you all so much for having me here. It is truly an honor to be here with all of you who care so passionately about this issue. Let me first start by admitting that this issue is hard. It is complicated, and it's scary, and Putin is making our work even more difficult. This issue feels like yesterday's problem, and there's a serious political logjam that is blocking meaningful progress towards zero. But we're all here today because we know that we won't break that logjam without young people, the world's first post-Cold War generation, the most powerful political constituency in the world, working urgently to eliminate the single greatest humanitarian threat of the 21st century. But at Global Zero, we also knew that the old model of engaging youth and involving youth on this issue wasn't working. Student quote-unquote activism was marked by conferences and debates and policy papers and sometimes the occasional petition signature. We were talking ourselves in circles, preaching to the choir, and doing it in a way that wasn't motivating new people and wasn't building the movement. We needed a new platform for mobilizing young people, one that wasn't about the theoretical, that wasn't about policy debate or academic discussion. We needed a program that was laser-focused on action, laser-focused on training and deploying the right people with the right tactics at the right time to influence decision makers in a real way. So cue the Global Zero Action Corps. Earlier this year, we spent 2 months recruiting our butts off to recruit folks to this new kind of volunteer program that we were piloting in the US. We were selective and we were intentional. We focused on young people, on diversity, and on those who had a real appetite for organizing and for leadership. Our new volunteers didn't need to be experts on nuclear weapons. They just needed to have that burning desire to have a real impact. And we found them. We recruited, vetted, and trained 50 of the country's top volunteer leaders in strategic cities across the country, ready to go to work every single day for zero. They became the 2015 Global Zero Action Corps. So right off the bat, we brought them to New York City alongside the MPT conference for 3 days. And we gave them serious training on the issue, on organizing, and on advocacy. They put it all into practice there at the UN for the MPT, lobbying, high-level decision makers, leading those meetings. The UN Secretary General himself, Ban Ki-moon, thanked and congratulated the Global Zero Action Corps. And as you can see, they had some fun in the process. So our Action Corps leaders then went back to their communities and their campuses, and they went to work. And the results, I think, speak for themselves. In just a few months, they have recruited hundreds of core team members and started local Global Zero chapters. They've written 45 letters to the editor. They've hosted 112 Global Zero events. They've met with their members of Congress 65 times. They've written more than 1,000 handwritten letters to decision makers. They've met with presidential candidates on the campaign trail 8 times. They've published 15 op-eds in support of the Iran deal. They've generated more than 80 earned media hits. And they organized their own Global Day of Action on the anniversary of the bombing of Nagasaki, mobilizing more than 1,000 people in the streets to stand up and to call on our world leaders and to tell them that 70 years is too long to live in fear. The Global Zero Action Corps together has accomplished even more than I thought possible in 6 months. Their commitment, their enthusiasm, their creativity is truly astounding. And in my view, it's exactly what we need to win this fight. But we're not claiming victory yet. Real action on disarmament will require public pressure several orders of magnitude greater than exists today. We need thousands more activists like these and like all of you taking to the streets to demand a world without nuclear weapons. So I urge you to join me into challenging ourselves to stop talking ourselves in circles, to stop debating what we already know, that nuclear weapons are unacceptable, to stop using tactics that we know aren't working. Let's stop doing those things and let's start finding the right people. Let's start communicating in ways that resonate with them. Let's start giving them the tools and the training that they need to be successful. Let's empower them to do real, hard-hitting advocacy that moves decision makers and gets us closer to zero. Let's put action at the front and center of our work, and let's finally get to zero. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Mint. My real name is Chanika Anwongwiriya. I'm from the Young Plants of Peace group from Sokagakai, Thailand. On August 15, as you can see in the picture, we hosted a Youth Peace Festival. So there was lots of people. I'll explain what the events comprise of and how it began. So on August 15, exactly 70 years since Japan surrendered the war, we held an all-day youth festival and exchange titled Ridding the World of Misery, commemorating 70th year since the atrocities caused by atomic bombs. My inspiration derives from a story that I have exchanged with my friends from the southernmost island of Kyushu, of Japan, called Kyushu. Can I have like my friends from Kyushu who's in here too? And can we give him a round of applause? Thank you so much. So the story that they have shared with me really inspired me because it was a story of how they overcame the challenges to organize a peace concert, such as the barrier of singing German songs, like training the 50,000 singers, Japanese youth singers, to sing German songs. They had no place to practice together. They had no venue to host the concert. But it was really for the cause of peace, the desire to give happiness to others and to relieve them of suffering. So all of these really inspired me to do what I thought was impossible. Right then, I made a promise to hold the first peace festival in my country. The morning session comprises a passionate dialogue among youth leaders from Cambodia, Laos, and Thailand about Dr. Ikeda's 2015 peace proposal titled A Shared Pledge for a More Humane Future to Eliminate Misery from the Earth. We also discussed challenges and practical implementations of peace in our respective countries. Following the dialogue was a warm, welcome reception to experience Thai culture, such as playing a rare 3-string instrument and creating a flower art. In the afternoon, the Peace Festival was open to public, featuring a series of performances, such as a contemporary dance depicting an experience of those searching for their lost family members right after the atomic bomb, a short film that poses a question that when the atomic bombs were dropped, who wins and who loses, or do we all lose? A woodwind performance conveying that when one person courageously stand up to transform our tendency to disrespect life, then the second, the third, and so on would join in the movement. Then a brass band and chorus performance on a song that represent a pledge from the youth to stand up against war and to transcend differences in ideology and create a strong movement for peace and culture. After that, we had a signing of 914 petitions, which I actually brought with me today here. The petitions for creating a new era of peace and abolishing nuclear weapons. The event ended with a finale song titled The Light of Peace, where everyone sang together in unison. This event was attended by 1,009 people. The word 9 in Thai also reads steps. Such significant number of 1,000 steps that each of us is taking is symbolic of the beginning of a new era without nuclear weapons. To me, the success of this event does not lie only in the in the performance, but also in the countless victories that performers had in challenging the tendency to disrespect life and fostering the blossoming of a culture that respects the dignity of life. Even after the festival, a lot of you may know about the bombing situation in Thailand, which happened 2 days after the event. A lot of us really unite, both in our actions and our prayers for the disease, and really, united for the cause of peace. So, yes, I sincerely believe that these stories that they have fought, during struggling to create this event will further inspire other people who thought that there were things that they wanted to do but thought was impossible to make a change. That would really inspire them, just like how the story from my friend from Kyushu had inspired me. Thank you so much.
皆さん、こんにちは。Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Hayato Kawano. I'm a student at Nagasaki University. I'm also a member of Nagasaki Youth Delegation. Probably, there are people who don't know about the Nagasaki Youth Delegation, so I'd like to talk about it briefly. Nagasaki Youth Delegation is a youth organization run by PCU, Nagasaki Prefecture, Nagasaki City, and Nagasaki University. Nagasaki Youth Delegation members are people who live in Nagasaki, applied for this program, and was selected by PCU. After the task examination, we began our activities. Our activities largely covered three main topics. First, we study about the atomic bombing history. For example, the testimonies from survivors or Hibakusha in Japanese, visiting the atomic bombing memorial and damaged places, and learn about the current nuclear weapons situation, the NPT conference, and the stance of various countries on the issues. Second, we took part in NPT conference in New York this past April. We were able to talk with world governments, visit a Japanese school, teach the history of the atomic bombing, and exchange with Japanese university students, and our NGO organization about disarmament education. Finally, after the conference, we held a report session in Nagasaki University for not only regular citizens, but also students. Even we visited middle school to teach about the nuclear weapons situation and our activities. I cannot explain all the youth delegation's activities in full days, so please visit our Facebook page, Nagasaki Youth Delegation, to learn more. Some friends ask me, why are you interested in these issues? Actually, I'm from Miyazaki Prefecture. I had never taken a class about the atomic bombing, but Nagasaki is not in the same situation. I have heard from friends who grew up in Nagasaki. They know about and thought on peace and atomic bombing issues, even people in my same generation. So I was very impressed. Then I researched about the nuclear weapons situation all over the world. I didn't know the real number of nuclear weapons, or that even a single of these weapons is able to destroy people and city and life. Actually, I thought there are about 10 nuclear weapons all over the world, but correctly number, the real number is about 16,000. When I found out this number, I got goosebumps and felt fearful. I thought Japan is safe and in peace, but it is fake peace because of nuclear weapons. This machine does keep us safe. After a moment, notice could break down. So this is very dangerous situation the world is in. Therefore, I want people to know about and share knowledge of this situation. I want to take action together. Furthermore, I know that many youth are taking action all over the world, but there are not enough people who are interested in nuclear weapons issues in Japan. Actually, I attended the ICANN Civil Society forum in Vienna. I was surprised that a lot of other young people have come together and doing things for these issues. It motivated me to take actions. In this session, I've been able to share and know about the thought of many people from different countries. So I will go back to Nagasaki and share this experiment with others. I want to cooperate with people from all over the world. Thank you for listening and thank you for cooperating.
Thank you so much for your presentations and for introducing your organizations and your work. And if I would not be a nuclear abolition campaigner, you would have motivated me to become active now. I hope also for you, this counts for you as well. So yeah, very inspiring. I guess that some of you might have some questions for my colleagues up here on the table. So we are now going to do a short Q&A session. You can ask like before your questions in English or in Japanese. Yuya will help with this translation. And we have microphones that will be brought to you. So please just raise your hand if you have a question. And yeah, let us start. I guess there, right in the back, we have one here. Is the microphone coming to you, or where are the, or just if you raise your voice.
It's coming.
And now I can save my voice for karaoke sessions. Okay. My name is Aisura and I'm from Iran. I'm currently studying global studies in Hiroshima Jogakuin Daigaku. Well, because of my major, I'm also exposed to all these youth movements and all that. And also, like, I see so many youth. We are the future of our countries. And the reason why sometimes we nag about our governments not being good is because maybe we are not taking action now. So I want to know, how do you make your volunteers or youth around you interested in youth movements and doing something for their future? For their children, for their grandchildren, for whoever is coming after them. Yeah. And what are the challenges? How do you approach them?
Would you like to have an answer of all of them so that you start, or is it directed to?
I don't know if we have time, or because they come from different countries, so maybe they have.
Sure,
I think
yeah.
we have time that everybody answers if you want.
Thank you so much.
Okay, let me translate in Japanese now. 私はイランから来たアイスーダと申します。広島女学院で学んでおります。今、 この青年のテーマで議論をしており、様々なお話をいただきましたが、まさに若者、青年が世界の未来であるというふうに感じましたし、またそのようなお話が今ございましたが、まだまだ行動を起こしきれてないんではないかという現実もあると思います。そういう中で、ぜひ、今日、先ほどお話しいただいた皆様、どなたでも結構ですので、どのようにして、若者層、特に、若い人たちにですね、若い人たちにどういうふうにこの問題に関心を持ち、この核兵器廃絶のためにどう呼びかけて、一人でも多くの人を巻き込んでいけるようなことができると考えていますでしょうか。またそういった、若者だけでなく、将来を担う将来の世界を担う人たちへの呼びかけをどういうふうにしておりますでしょうか。また、どういうような課題に直面をしているかをお話しいただければと思います。
Who wants to start? I think you can choose. Who wants? Yeah?
すいません、日本語でいいですか。
はい、OK、
やっぱり、特に若い人たちっていうのは、やっぱりこう、戦争の経験がなかったりとか、やっぱり、被爆者の方だったら本当に力があると思うんですけど、やっぱりなかなかない分、こう一歩に踏み出せないってことがあると思うんですけど、でもやっぱり若者の人たちをどのようにこう引きつけるかっていうのを考えると、いろんなアプローチの仕方があるなというふうに思います。
Okay, so if I can answer in Japanese, I think that as youth, we have not experienced any wars, and I think in that way we're different from hibakusha, who have experienced firsthand the atrocities of war. And I think there are many ways, and I think in that sense we're different. But I think there are ways, there are various approaches to be able to involve more youths.
例えば先ほどのピアノもそうです。やっぱり音を聞いて、その中に込められた思いっていうのはやっぱり伝わると思うんです。例えばアートでもそうですし、いろんな形の伝え方があって、間接的でもやっぱり気持ちっていうのは伝わると思います。
And I think one great example is the piano we heard this morning from a girl who is not a hibakusha, of course, herself, but through that sound, it really portrayed, it really relayed or conveyed the heart that was behind her passion for peace. And I think there are many ways that we can express this through art and other means as well. And I think, yes, there are many ways to express that.
また、特に日本の人の方、若い人っていうのは、やっぱりこうなかなかこう、一歩踏み出せないというのが多いんですけど、実際に僕がオーストリアの会議に出たときに、日本とは違う雰囲気を持った会議が行われていて、とても若い人がたくさんいて、驚きでした。やっぱりそういういろんな海外からのアプローチの視点とか、いろんな形をこれから知っていって、日本でも行っていけば、活動広がると思いますし、世界でもいろんな活動を通して、こう強化していくと、また活動も広がるんじゃないのかなというふうに僕は思います。ありがとうございます。
And as a youth, I think in Japan especially, we may not be able to take or have courage to take concrete action. But myself, when I had a chance to participate in the conference in Vienna, Austria, some time ago, I was very myself surprised and astonished by how the conferences are held with so many youths, and the vibrant atmosphere that I've experienced was so different from Japan. And I was able to really learn how there are different approaches to one and also different perspectives. And I think, as for myself, Japan can really learn from other countries in the way they conduct and approach many different activities. And I think there are ways that we can all learn from each other. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you so much for your question. I could really understand your sentiment, being in, the very country that is under the threat of nuclear war, potential localized nuclear war. So it's not an easy issue. I think a lot of us would feel, sometimes I feel conflicted when I hear, experiences from hibakusha. Should I cry or should I not cry? Is that expressing my weakness or is that just being myself? Yeah, so I think it's something that we struggles all the time, right? But to accept that there's a human side to us, and there's also the other side that, like, of us that disrespect lives. So really understanding who we're talking to, I think you do that already. So I'll share my own a little short experience about how this peace movement like began in Thailand. So when I first went back after my study in the United States to Thailand 3 years ago, there was no, consistent activities on peace in Sokarakai. So I asked the question, can we host an exhibition, transforming the human spirit? Or now that we, SGI and ICANN has started a new exhibition called Everything You Treasure. So I keep asking, can we do exhibition? And it was like, the nuclear weapon is something so like far removed from daily life, especially for Thai people. Like we know nothing about there's not much talk about it. So for a while, I really didn't understand why, it hasn't started, like why am I pushing this and it hasn't been happening. But later on, slowly, it's been 3 years and this is the first movement that I'm able to launch related to nuclear abolition, directly related to. So, it takes some hibakusha 60 years to talk about the experience. It only took me 3 years to start this. So I think, it's a very difficult issue internally and also outwardly. I think as long as you continue, this is the key. Yeah, I hope I answer your question in the slightest sense.
That's the ultimate question, right? Is how do we motivate volunteers? How do we motivate and mobilize our peers to take action? It's tough, but I think from my experience as an organizer, and particularly an organizer of young people on a variety of issues, you need 3 critical things. The first is a clear theory of change. The second, you need to be able to clearly articulate the people you are trying to motivate, how they fit into your theory of change. And thirdly, you need concrete resources and opportunities for them to then execute how they fit into your theory of change. I think importantly, young people especially, but most all volunteers, volunteer to have an impact. So you have to be able to illustrate to them how what they're doing, how the actions that they're taking are having an impact on the issue as a whole, which for the issue of nuclear weapons is difficult to do because it is exceptionally existential and, as we've talked about, can feel very distant and to some degree theoretical. I think to combat that, the stories that we've heard from the survivors, as well as your own personal stories for why you got involved in the issue in the first place, are really critical to motivating other people and to illustrating how you can have a tangible impact. I think the same things that motivate all of us at this table, motivate all of you around the room, are the same things that are going to motivate your peers and the people you're trying to engage to get involved. So I would recommend honing in on your own story, being able to articulate that to others about why you got involved, why you're passionate about the issue, and why our generation has a concrete opportunity to make change.
Thank you very much for your question. That's a very difficult question to answer. Because for me, coming from a continent where we don't have any nuclear weapons, like some of my colleagues have mentioned, Meredith and Mint, the challenge becomes that, the issue of nuclear weapons is very distant. Nuclear weapons are in America, nuclear weapons are in Europe and in other places. So why should we care about such a thing? So what I found and part of the reason I joined the movement was as a doctor, I can relate to something that's very close to my heart. So the humanitarian aspect of the presence of nuclear weapons in the world is something I really connected to. And the need and the very present danger of having nuclear weapons in the world is something that I find very scary. So part of the strategy that we use in Kenya, especially like with medical students, is finding something emotional that people can attach value to. So being in the medical profession, we use the health effects of nuclear weapons and what would happen if a nuclear weapon detonated, by accident or for whatever reason. So we know that the world relies on each other, and part of the damage that would come from such an event would be one, environmental, and two, all the health implications that will follow. We know that as it is, even if one bomb was to go off, that the world does not have the capacity to deal with the scale of damage, whether health-wise or environmentally, that would result as an effect of a nuclear weapon, exploding. So it's very easy for us to take things for granted. So like I like to use the example of if you've ever like cut a finger of yours when you were cooking, or for whatever reason you injured a part of your hand, that's when you really realize how important that one part of your body is to your day-to-day living. So like if you injured your thumb, and that's your dominant hand, and that's the hand you use to write, then you start to realize how important it is that that part is hurt and you're not able to use it as well as you would normally do. So as a world, the thing that I try to appeal with the youth in Africa is that we cannot act as one. We cannot leave the struggles of the West to the West. We have to think and act and coordinate things that we do on a global level, because we need all the parts for something to work and to work properly. So and the youth is the future, like we keep saying. So we need to safeguard our own future. So it has to come out, and it has to emanate from this generation. We are the people who are very, very we're the generation of change. So we need to find those emotive tags. And like Mr. Tanabe in his presentation mentioned that, enable yourself to be able to share the message by gaining a lot of knowledge and understanding what has happened in the past, so that you can reflect on it and use it as a basis of what you're going to do as far as the campaign is concerned. The other thing that I almost forgot is that people in Africa feel that the problems that we have in Africa are bigger. Nuclear weapons cannot really be a thing that we need to talk about right now, but it really is one of the things that we need to talk about right now, because if a bomb went off in some part of Europe, if anything, it leaves the people of Africa even more vulnerable, because they already are vulnerable. So they would be in an even greater danger than other parts of the world. So that's part of what I use when I speak to people, and as part of the advocacy, is to find something that they can connect with and that they can hold on to when they themselves go to speak to others and raise awareness. Thank you.
Thank you. I will be short here. Yes. I want to point maybe two things. Firstly, at international level, what we are doing as a coalition to support the youth involved in ICANN. We do have quite a lot of youth association and organization that are members of our coalition. So we're trying to support them as much as we can, for example, in activities like forming youth delegation for international intergovernment organization. We have a great collaboration with Bang Association, Ban on New Generation, which brought around from 20 to 40 youth at each NPT review conference or major international negotiation conference. So we're trying to support the youth in our coalition by trying to create projects together with them to be partner in their activities. and to have this youth delegation of the conference in order for the diplomats and representative of governments to see that the youth, the ones that are creating the future world, are there and want to discuss with them and have exact message that want to send. The second part I wanted to reply to your question was about the situation in Romania, because I'm coordinating the campaign in Romania. And we do have in my country quite young civil society due to the fall of the communism, recently fall of communism. So we do have a lot of youth engaged in civil society. Our problem is how do we get them involved in nuclear disarmament? And sometimes they have the feeling that the domain is so far away and there are such a few people in this world that have the responsibility to talk about nuclear disarmament. And this is our first step, to tell them that they do have the power and responsibility to talk about nuclear disarmament. We educate them and try to tell them as much as we can about the consequences of nuclear weapons. And we give them support in meeting with their representatives, especially with parliamentarians. We offer them different tools, like helping them in writing letters to their parliamentarians or talking points if they have one-to-one meeting with their representatives. Because it is, as I mentioned before, it is very, very important for them to realize that we indeed are a generation of change and we are creating the future world, and our representative and the politicians needs to know what our requires for the world that we want to live from now on.
Thank you so much for your answers and the informations you gave. I am very sorry that I need to say that, but I need also to look at the time. So, I could listen to your answers and your stories for hours, but unfortunately we don't have time for more questions because we need to go on with the program. So I would suggest, if you have more questions, they all have websites of their organizations, they have contact formulas or email addresses, or I think you can also, most of them are on Twitter or on Facebook, find them and write them. And maybe you can find a way of working with them, helping, or even distributing their courses and their informations. Yeah, thank you so much.